Welcome back. In today's episode, we speak with Chad Crete, entrepreneur and chef of the year. Which customer is your most important customer? And what is the number one key to keeping your staff engaged?
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Entrepreneur and chef of the year, Chad Crete has created his latest concept. He has founded Whiskey Bird Restaurants. After extensive travels throughout Asia, Chad had an idea of bringing traditional Yakitori and bringing it to the U.S. with an updated flair. He's going to pair high-end whiskeys and sake with the traditional flavors of Japan. If you have ever thought about starting a restaurant or need some help building a great culture within your business, Chad is an amazing resource. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today. I know the audience is going to get so much out of this. Why don't you start us off? How did you ever get into the culinary field?
Yeah, it's really kind of funny because it honestly happened really on accident. Like a lot of people that, end up in a certain field, I feel like that is a similar scenario. I growing up in New Hampshire with a single mom and kind of, I got into a little area where I was getting into trouble, at 14 years old and, kind of needed to really take the most of my time and keep me busy. And I've still found to this day that me keeping busy is really the best form of keeping me on track and keeping me focused. And so by the time I was about 14 years old, really, we had a family friend who owned a catering business. And my mom said, you know what, at this point in time, she's like, you're old enough to work. She's like, if you want anything, if you want school clothes, you want anything, she's like, you're gonna start paying for it. And so I got a job, and I quickly found out I was addicted to working, and I really loved it. And I found that it was something that I really did truly enjoy. I like the hectic nature of every day that's different. Things come up, you have to pivot really quickly. And by the time I was 16, I was running trucks and setting up 300-400 person offsite weddings. I was, in charge of a team of 25. And then I went from there. I went to, another close restaurant in my hometown that was more focused on the culinary art side of it, and really just learning, staying late, working for the chefs, getting to know them, staying late and working for free, and just showing them that, this young kid still really has a passion and a niche for it. And from there, I think one of the benefits of my career thus far is I knew from an early age, around 14, 15, that I wanted to be in the hospitality business. And so that really kind of created the trajectory for the rest of my career. And, how I chose Cornell, the hospitality program, that was my focus. I knew right when I got to high school, that was my goal, that was my aim. And so when I went to the guidance office and said, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to get here, what do I need grades-wise and et cetera, to be able to get me that. And so that's really kind of how everything started. And, then from there, I just started, working in internships and working in some of the top restaurant groups throughout the country. So I always made sure that throughout college, every summer was used to, gain more and more experience and really, pad my resume with a wide breadth of, different, working scenarios. And so that's kind of how things started, where things went through college. And then after that, things were history after that. I mean, I was able to work in Las Vegas and gain, an immense amount of knowledge from the operational standpoint of the business. And then, by the time I was, 2 years out, I think the networking that I made throughout my university career.
Well, that's so important. I want to come back and I want to touch on that networking. The people that you met at Cornell, you're still great friends with today, and they are around the world just kicking butt.
Absolutely. And I think, it is that network. I mean, of course, Cornell's a world-class institution, and I've I feel like I got a very great education. However, the people I met, the connections I met to this day have really kind of formed, my track record in the career in the restaurant.
Absolutely. You'll always hear me say that a job or a career will make you money, but your Rolodex will make you a fortune.
Absolutely.
And I think in your case, that's going to prove true.
Certainly.
Let's get back to when you were younger. I know your mom played a big influence on you growing up. I mean, you're like me. You had goals, you had objectives, you knew where you wanted to go at a young age. Where'd that come from? Was that something you just woke up with? Or was it your mom? Was it a mentor?
Yeah, I think, growing up and, seeing how hard that my mom really had to work to, provide for us, I saw from an early age and from my surroundings that, we were a little bit different. I still always remember to this day that, as a young kid, my mom really kind of instilling in me, how important it is to, continue to work hard. But, one thing I'll never forget is, when you're a young kid and your mom brings you to the grocery store with a calculator and you have
That's right, I remember that story.
And you have to, start thinking at a young age, all right, this is what we need for the week, but this is our budget. And so start putting things in the cart and then soon realize that you still need a lot of other things. And when you have to start taking things out of the cart and realizing how you're going to stretch a dollar, I think, I always looked at that as, how important it is for me to work hard so that, when I got older, I didn't have to be in that situation of, really kind of not only living paycheck to paycheck, but having that sense of comfort. And I think what I learned about, money and working hard to, get myself in a career situation where, I was a little bit more, fortunate in that way, really had a lasting impact on why I continue to, just strive forward every day and work hard.
Yeah, it's funny. You just reminded me of a scenario when I was young. I forgot about this. We didn't have calculators when I was young. I'm the old guy in the room. But I remember my mom had this. It was a red little device, and you would click on it, and it would add the dimes dimes or the dollars, I guess, to each one. So you would kind of click it. And you know where you were on your budget as you threw things in the car. I totally forgot about that until you just mentioned it. Tell me someone that you really admire in the culinary area. Celebrity chef or somebody we may not know, and then why?
It's really funny because when I really started delving into the culinary side of it, it's hard to think back now, really, those little things. But to be honest with you, when the Food Network started, I was glued to the television, and the one who started it all to this day, that some people really need to remember, is Emeril Lagasse.
Yeah.
Emeril Lagasse was, the first chef with, on Food Network that just had that absolute passion about food and ingredients and what it comes down to really project that level of passion to the people, not only in your audience, but the way I view restaurants is that every day we're on stage and every day we have a captive audience in our building. And it is so important for the culture of what our business is and that we've created were. But, Emeril Lagasse to this day, he was, my first cookbooks that I got when I was a young child, when he had his line of cookware. I still to this day cook with my Emeril Lagasse Calphalon pan. It's still like a staple that I use almost every day when I'm cooking at home.
Interesting.
And so, Emeril Lagasse still to this day, I mean, now he's doing a new show that's traveling around the world and interviewing chefs. But yeah, I would say back in the
he'll have
beginning.
to come interview you.
Absolutely. Hopefully
we'll have to get him on the show.
Absolutely.
Awesome. It's interesting because I talk about the restaurant business all the time. And I'm like, this is one business I would not want to be involved in because every moment, every second, your inventory is depleting and going bad. But what I love also is, and many people chefs get into the restaurant business, and they realize that they never wanted to be an entrepreneur. They really just wanted to be the chef. And you've done an amazing job from going from chef of the year here in Atlanta, but very successful restaurateur, if I can get that word right. And not everyone makes that shift from chef to entrepreneur, restaurateur. How did you make the shift from the kitchen to running the business successfully?
Absolutely. It's funny that you bring that up, and because when I think about the business a lot, and I think about, how fortunate I've been to have the success in restaurants that I've had at a young age, is that I just happen to be a a great business person that is also a chef. Okay. So the business is really
comes first.
What you come to realize is that, when I opened the first restaurant, Iberian Pig in Decatur in 2009, we put the menu together and, I'm in the kitchen all day, but when the restaurant is open and the green light goes on and the doors are unlocked and people start coming through, your focus and your shift now is no longer, everything you've created throughout the day from the food perspective is ready to go. And so there's so many other things that come up as, in the morning you're checking in inventory, you're checking in, product, you're making sure people are staying on schedule. But the business side of it is crucially important, managing your cash flow and making sure that you have enough money to clear deliveries and you have, money to pay your staff and you have, payroll coming up and you've got extra taxes. And so, in the beginning when you have to do it all, I spent less time cooking as we got more busy and we got more successful. I spent more time out of the kitchen and making sure I had my thumb on every element of the business, whether that's, the accounting side or whether that's continually making sure we're hiring, focusing on that continual training aspect with the staff. And also I realized that our business and our success, food is important. Service, of course, is ultimately important and is what will ultimately maintain your clientele and have people coming back. But at the same time, building that culture and having that palpable passion and excitement to keep your staff constantly engaged is really, really important.
And what you do extremely well, you do a lot of things extremely well here. A matter of fact, I am investing in his new restaurant. I thought I'd never invest in a restaurant, and actually, I'm not investing in a restaurant. I'm investing in an individual, and there's a distinction there. One of the things you do really, really well is everyone that walks through the door, you make them feel special, welcomed. I remember, one time I came into to your restaurant, and the maitre d' was there, and you're like, "Do you have any idea who just walked in the door? That's Thor Conklin." And, I was kind of chuckling about it when it happened. But he does that with all of his guests. If you've got an important dinner going on, he'll come over and make the person feel that organize this like an absolute king. And that's really well done. And I want to touch on the point about having your thumb on everything. Even though you're not in the kitchen, you are all over the quality of what comes out of that kitchen. And if it's not exactly the way it's supposed to be, you are all over your team and getting it right.
Yeah.
How do you do everything?
It's with anything, it's about setting the expectation. So your team really has to understand what your expectation is, what is serviceable and what is not, and how to really make sure that quality in all aspects is a core value that's really important. And
when you say serviceable, explain that. I don't
know. Like if it's not perfect, don't serve it. In a lot of restaurants,
okay.
It's easy. It's very easy when you're busy to just constantly you have a kitchen full of tickets and a restaurant full of guests, and it's easy to make that decision. I see it all the time in other restaurants, just to send it out and just get it out. But it's better sometimes just to send it back and have it redone than to send it out, because you always want to make sure that that may be your last guest ever. And so
you're like Gordon Ramsay.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm that intense when it comes to that, but
your standards are as high.
Yeah, I think I forget exactly who said this, but I think it comes down to one of the elements of a new book that I've been reading called The Heart of Hospitality, and it talks about successful operators, and what they say is the most important guest at the time is the guest that you're speaking to and the guest that you're interacting with. That could be your last guest. So treat every guest as it could be your last.
For the last 16 years, I've been driven by the question of why some people achieve amazing results and others don't. The answer? 90% of their success came from their psychology. So if 90% of their success comes down to their psychology, what was the one thing that enabled them to produce the results that others were not? Their ability to execute, their ability to get things done. Now, we all know how to get things done, but some of us do it better than others. And some of us are not even coming close to tapping our potential. So if you're truly committed to tapping your potential and really becoming a peak performer and getting the results that you need, want, and desire? Take your phone and text the word BE Summit. That stands for Business Execution Summit. One word, BE Summit, and text that to 41411. I'm going to send out some additional information on our upcoming event that will truly teach you the science of execution. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day. That concludes part 1 of our interview with Chad Crete. Please tune in later this week for part 2.